Okay, some massive news just dropped from Stockholm, and trust me, it could change how you think about pretty much everything, from your job to the future of our country. The 2025 Nobel Prize in Economics has been awarded, and it's all about celebrating the one force that truly drives progress: innovation.
That's right. The prize didn't go to someone who found a new way to count money. It went to a group of thinkers who explained how economies actually grow. It's not just about building more stuff, it's about coming up with brand new ideas. They call it innovation-driven growth. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what that means and why it is so crucial for our future.
And here are the brilliant minds we're talking about: Joel Mokyr, Philippe Aghion, and Peter Howitt. These three economists have basically been given the world's top honor for work that has completely changed how we see long-term prosperity. You see, their research gives us a framework, a kind of blueprint for understanding how new technologies are born, how they disrupt the old ways, and how that entire process is what pushes our economies forward. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the prize itself. Then, we'll define what this innovation thing is really all about. We'll trace its history, see how it actually works, look at the challenges, and then bring it all home with the Indian story. Chalo, let's dive in. So, first up, who are these three thinkers? What did each of them bring to the table that was so special it won them this incredible honor? Let's take a closer look. Their work fits together perfectly, kind of like three pieces of a puzzle. Think of Joel Mokyr as the historian of the group. He went digging through centuries of history to show that new scientific knowledge is the real fuel for economic growth. And then you've got Aghion and Howitt. They're like the architects. They took this big historical idea and built a powerful mathematical model around it, proving that this constant cycle of the new replacing the old, something they call creative destruction, is the very engine of our modern economies. So that brings us to the really big question, right? What is this prize-winning idea? When we say innovation-driven growth, what are we actually talking about? Let's break down the fundamentals. When you strip it all down, the idea is actually pretty straightforward. It's about an economy getting richer and our lives getting better, not just by using more resources, but by using them in a much smarter way. It's the kind of growth that comes from new knowledge, new inventions, and new ways of doing things. I mean, think about the leap from landlines to smartphones. That wasn't just more phones. It was a completely new way of living that created entirely new industries out of thin air. That is innovation-driven growth. And a huge part of this process goes by this very powerful name: creative destruction. This is the core idea that for new, better things to come along, the old, less efficient ones have to get out of the way. And yeah, it can be disruptive. Think about how digital cameras completely wiped out the film camera industry. That old industry was destroyed, which of course meant job losses and closed factories. But a new, much better one was created in its place, giving us better products and, in the long run, progress. It's this constant and sometimes painful cycle of renewal that keeps pushing us forward. And here's something really important to get. Innovation isn't just about shiny new gadgets. It's happening all around us, in different forms. Of course, you have product innovation, like an electric vehicle. But then there's process innovation. Henry Ford's assembly line didn't change the car itself, but it revolutionized how it was made. You've also got business model innovation. I mean, Netflix didn't invent movies, right? They just found a genius new way to sell them to us. And finally, there's organizational innovation, like the agile methods that have completely changed how teams work, not just in tech, but everywhere. Now, these ideas might feel very modern, but they didn't just pop out of nowhere. They actually stand on the shoulders of giants. And to really get why they're so important, we need to take a quick look at how this thinking evolved over time. So the story really starts way back in the 1940s with an economist named Joseph Schumpeter who first came up with the term creative destruction. But for a long time, it was just an idea on the side. Then in the 50s, Robert Solow's model showed that just adding more capital and labor couldn't explain all of economic growth. There was this mysterious leftover part, a residual, which he figured must be technology. Fast forward to the 80s, economists like Paul Romer argue that technology isn't some accident that falls from the sky. It's created inside the economy by people and firms. And that set the stage for 1992 when Aghion and Howitt published their game-changing paper. Then, finally, in the 2000s, Joel Mokyr came in and added all the rich historical proof, showing how this engine has been working for centuries. And this slide right here shows you just how revolutionary this shift was. The old way of thinking basically treated technology like it was magic, manna from heaven. So the only thing governments could really do was encourage people to save more money. But the new model from our Nobel laureate says, hang on, Innovation isn't magic, it's manufactured. It's the result of choices we make, choices to invest in research, to improve education, and to encourage competition. This is a huge deal. It means governments can stop just hoping for growth and can start actively creating the conditions for it.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the why, but let's get into the nitty-gritty how. How does this whole process of innovation actually work in the real world to create growth? What's the mechanism?
Think of it like a five-step chain reaction. It all starts with a spark, a new idea, maybe in a lab or a startup garage. But an idea alone is nothing. It needs fuel, which comes as investment. Once that idea is built into a product, it needs to spread. That's diffusion. As it spreads, it makes everyone more efficient, giving us a productivity boost. And the final massive result, market expansion. Entirely new industries and jobs that simply did not exist before. And to give you a sense of scale for that investment fuel, just look at this number. In a single year, 2021, over $600 billion in venture capital was poured into new ideas around the world. That's an unbelievable amount of money betting on the future, all trying to find that next big breakthrough.
And this number? This shows you just how fast a great innovation can take over. Just take mobile payments. A decade ago, it was a niche concept. Today, in some parts of the world, over 70% of people are using it. When a new technology spreads that quickly, it doesn't just change a few habits, it fundamentally rewires the entire economy.
So, at the end of the day, what's the result of all this? Well, as you can see, the impacts are massive, and they touch every single part of our lives. It's not just about a bigger GDP. It changes the very nature of our jobs, it improves our quality of life with things like better healthcare, and it even gives us the tools, like clean energy tech, to tackle our biggest global challenges. Innovation doesn't just grow the economy, it literally reshapes our society.
But let's be real here. It's not a perfect fairy tale. This process of creative destruction can be very painful, and this kind of growth comes with its own serious set of challenges. So let's take a balanced look at the downsides and how we might be able to navigate them.
The dark side of this progress is very real. The wealth it creates isn't always shared fairly, and it can often widen the gap between the rich and the poor. Job displacement isn't just an economic term. It's a painful reality for millions of people. And our brilliant innovations can have unintended consequences we didn't see coming, from new kinds of pollution to the ethical nightmares of AI. On top of that, we have the digital divide, which locks millions of people out of this new economy entirely. These are not small problems. They're huge challenges we absolutely have to solve.
So how do you get the good parts without the bad? Well, the answer seems to lie in a three-part strategy. First, we need smarter governance. That means rules that encourage competition, but can also adapt quickly to new tech. Second, we need strategic investment, not just throwing money around, but targeting research and startups that can solve our biggest problems. And maybe most importantly, we have to invest in human capital. That means rethinking our education system from the ground up and creating strong support systems to help people move from old jobs to new ones.
All right, let's bring all this theory back home. What does this Nobel Prize winning research actually mean for a country like India? How are we putting these principles into practice? And how are we doing so far?
You see, India is actually a fantastic real-world laboratory for these ideas. When the theory talks about investing in human capital, that's exactly what the Adult Innovation Mission is trying to do. Build innovators right from school age. When it talks about strategic investment and smarter governance, well, that's Startup India and the PLI schemes, which are all about creating the right environment for R&D. And the bedrock for all of this is our digital public infrastructure. Aadhaar and UPI are the perfect examples of a government-led platform that enables private innovation on a mind-boggling scale.
And the government is putting some serious money where its mouth is. The PLI schemes alone represent a massive investment of nearly 2 lakh crore rupees. Now, this isn't just a subsidy. It's a strategic bet that's aimed at creating 60 lakh new jobs by incentivizing companies to innovate and manufacture right here in India. It's a textbook example of a policy designed to create that endogenous growth we were talking about. And look at the result. More than 1 lakh recognized startups. Just think about that number for a second. It's staggering. It represents more than just a bunch of new businesses. It points to a fundamental cultural shift in our country towards entrepreneurship, risk-taking, and innovation, exactly the kind of mindset you need for the economy of the future. And if you want proof that this is all having a real effect, just look at this chart. This shows India's incredible journey in the Global Innovation Index.
We've jumped from a rank of 81 way back in 2015 all the way up to rank 40 in 2023. That is a massive leap of 41 places, and it shows that our policies and our ecosystem are starting to make a real, measurable impact on the world stage. So, at the end of the day, the work of Mokyr, Aghion, and Howitt isn't just some abstract economic theory for us here in India. It's a practical roadmap. It provides the intellectual foundation for our national ambition to move beyond just a resource-based economy and become a true knowledge-based powerhouse, where our greatest asset is the creativity and ingenuity of our own people.
The progress is undeniable, but those challenges of inequality and job transformation are still very, very real. The journey ahead is a long one. So that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Are we doing enough? Is India truly on the right path to becoming an innovation superpower? That's something to think about.
And that brings us to the end of this explainer. If you want to dive deeper into these concepts and revise everything we've covered today, we've put together some detailed notes and a really handy quick revision mind map over on our website. Just click the link in the description below to check it out. Thanks so much for watching.